We've all seen those wardrobe essentials lists that tell you the items that you need are things like a white button down, a black blazer, a pair of blue jeans, the list goes on. But what these aren't taking into account is the fact that everybody's style is different, and what we should actually be seeking out are items that perform a certain function in our wardrobe. So today I actually wanted to talk less about clothing items and more so on the wardrobe essentials that you actually need. So these are things that are going to help you maintain and care for your wardrobe, the things that you already own, rather than add to the noise. And this ties into what I'm always telling my styling clients, that they have a great foundation already. It's more so about figuring out how to mix and match what you already own, and that is an entirely separate topic on its own. So let's run through the wardrobe essentials that you actually need in your closet. If you love knitwear as much as I do, you probably notice some pilling on your sweaters. And this really happens when we get those pain points, those friction points on our knitwear where the fabric is rubbing up against something else. And what this does is it causes the little fibers, the bits of hair, fur, to ball up. And so this is a process called shedding. This is completely normal and is going to happen regardless of whether you buy an affordable or more expensive sweater. Though the difference that you would hope to see with more expensive sweaters is that the shedding process, this pilling, is going to be far less because they're using longer fibers, and that is the difference between A grade and then less superior fibers. So it is absolutely normal to experience this pilling, and really when we are buying knitwear we need to make sure we know how to care for it. And the key item that you need to have in your wardrobe is either a fabric shaver or some sort of a wool comb or a sweater rake. Now I'm going to explain the difference between these because I don't think that this is discussed about enough online. So when you are using a fabric shaver, this is essentially shaving that top layer of balled up fibers from the knit. So you're going to still experience that shedding process and you may feel like it's lasting forever. So while this is a really quick fix and it allows you to really effortlessly remove any pilling on your knits, you will find that over time this will require more work because you've only cut off a portion of those fibers that are eventually going to shed. The difference between that and a cashmere comb or a wool comb or even a sweater rake is that these actually brush those loose fibers out. So while this is more labor intensive, requires more work up front, over time you will notice that the pilling becomes less and less far quicker than when you're using a fabric shaver. You can use either or, obviously there's a time and a place, and a fabric shaver is also great if you experience pilling on some of your polyester items as well. I often use these on some trousers that I've got from Dish just to tidy them up. But this is number one. You do not have to spend a lot of money either. I'm going to link some of my favorite affordable options down in the description box. Next essential is a lint roller or a lint brush. If you have pets, you're probably well familiar with these, but again, there is a difference here. So a lint roller is essentially a single-use product. So once you run out, you've got to go out and buy more. It has a tacky sort of sticky surface that allows any lint or hairs to cling to this, and then you rip it off once the tackiness has subsided. Whereas a lint brush is something that has these short fibers here, and they cling on to the lint on your jacket, on your jeans, your pants, whatever, and then you'll notice all of that lint balling up here. And I will try and insert some cutaways so you can get a sense of what I mean. But this is, you buy it once and then you've got it forever. This one here is a little travel size, so it's great for popping in your handbag. Perfect if you are wearing a pair of pants or a dress that tends to attract lint like crazy. But these are just something that you absolutely need to have, and I feel like when you've got little bits of lint on your clothing, it does tend to make your outfit feel a little bit unfinished, so this just adds that extra step of polish. The next three essentials are all sewing related, so a sewing kit, if a button ever falls off, if you ever need to just quickly repair a seam. Basic sewing skills are so easy to pick up. There are so many tutorials on YouTube that you can go and watch if you're unsure, but it's just a really good skill to have, and it saves you the hassle of taking something very simple to the tailor. I like the fact that this one comes in a little case which has all of the essentials in. I'll do a little close up, but lots of different thread colors in there. You have a few buttons, you've got some needles as well. I mean, this is just one of those things that I tend to use maybe on a monthly basis, and it always comes in handy. And it actually includes one of the other essentials, which I'll mention next, and that is a measuring tape. Now I have this one here which belonged to my mum, so sort of one of those older things that I'm continuing to hang on to. This is great because I tend to lean on this a lot whenever I'm shopping online. I like to look at the item measurements and then I will compare it to something that I already own. Great for taking your own measurements so you can determine sizing, inseam, rise, all of those little details. Really good for sizing yourself as well if you're looking at buying a new bra. This just comes in handy, and you don't necessarily need to use it just from a clothing standpoint. I'm often reaching for this instead of our regular measuring tape for the, more of a construction measuring tape when I need to measure something that is under 150 centimeters. So these are an absolute must. And then also in the same category are safety pins. Again, these are things that will always come in handy. Quite often I like to sort of safety pin a knit underneath to create this sort of tucked effect that isn't actually tucked into my trousers. It sort of removes that sense of bulk. I have done a whole video on styling hacks, which I'm going to link up in the cards in case you'd like to go and have a watch. But these are great, and also you can do little things like if you need to make a strap slightly shorter and you just want to do a quick fix that you can then release, you can always use a safety pin. These are a good little essential to have. Also, if you're doing something like threading elastic through, you attach a safety pin on one end and then you're able to push the safety pin through the hole. This is how I learned to do it from my yaya. Amazing. Okay, can't go wrong with those, and these are fairly inexpensive things to have in your house. Next one I don't have on me right now, but I have ordered a top up, some sort of stain removal pen, something that you can keep in your bag in case you spill something on yourself while you're out. And this is a great way to just kind of give your top a little bit of a refresh, a little bit of a tidy up so that it's not setting, so the stain doesn't have time to really work itself into the fabric. Tide do the best one, hands down. If you haven't tried it, I think it is well worth it, and it's the size of a pen, so it's very easy to carry around. It feels very manageable. Another one, if you don't already have it, is a steamer. Now, I personally love using a steamer. We've got a steam iron, and I do have a steamer somewhere, but I can't find it at Philips one. But I find our steam iron absolutely fantastic because it has a really strong steam component to it that gets out stubborn creases, but I can also use it as an iron. But just having that steam functionality means that I can really get out those wrinkles from more delicate fabrics like silk without any concern that I'm going to damage the fabric. And if you do have a smaller one, you can take this with you when you're traveling, so you can always get any wrinkles out of your clothing, especially if you're not sure if your accommodations will have an iron available. Next one is clothing tape, or even something like trouser tape, especially if you want to kind of hem a pair of pants temporarily without going to the tailor to just see if you like the length. But clothing tape, great for making sure that you don't have any sort of nip slips or anything like that. I mean, these are just wonderful if you are someone who does tend to go out. Maybe you want to make sure the strap sticks in a particular spot, but obviously there are so many different uses for this. And again, these are reasonably inexpensive, and once you've bought a packet of them, these are going to last you a really long time. Seamless underwear, definitely also a must. I don't think you need this for every single day, but I feel like we all have those particular items in our closet that always look nicer when they've got those really nice, crisp, smooth lines. Now, I tend to like the Calvin Klein ones. I'll pop a photo on screen. I think that they are great. I did also recently buy some from a brand called Posy, which are fantastic. These are great if you want to wear front seam leggings. I mean, if you know, you know. But again, this is one of those things that will really just help your outfit feel a little bit more polished. And I definitely think that undergarments are one of those key elements that are going to make your clothes look good. So you should definitely start there and make sure you are investing in the right pieces for you. I guess while we're kind of on the topic of clothing, velvet hangers. I don't know where my closet would be without these. For one, I really like the fact that these have a slim profile, so they allow you to really maximize your space, especially if you're someone who does have a smaller wardrobe. They also have the velvet flocked exterior, which means that anything that might maybe slip off a wooden hanger isn't going to slip off these, and that's one of the elements I really love about velvet flocked hangers. You can also get the versions which have the clips for your trousers and skirts, which is great if you want to have consistency with all of your hangers. You can also get little attachments. I got mine from Kmart, I think, and they allow you to do the same thing just with your regular hangers, but I really can't rave about these enough. I've been using these velvet flocked hangers for years, and I like that they're basically anti-slip, so no matter what I hang on them, it will stay on the hanger. Shoehorns just feel so incredibly old school to me. They remind me of my grandparents in the best kind of way, and I think these are such a great tool to have if you have those particularly difficult to put on shoes, things that feel a little bit tight but they're still comfortable, and you need that support to get your foot in. And the way this works is it essentially creates a lever for you to slide your foot into the shoe. You can actually get ones that are longer, so if you have mobility issues, this is great because it will allow you to slip your shoes on even when you are standing. Mine is from Muji, but you can buy these from pretty much anywhere. You can get a metal one if you would prefer. I really just like the simplicity of this wooden one, but a really good tool to have, and probably something you maybe aren't thinking that you need, but it is life-changing. If you're buying good quality leather or suede bags and shoes, you need to have some sort of protector spray. The one I've been using for years is Colonel. I don't know if this is necessarily the best one. I'll link some other alternatives below, but this is something that I will always spray just to make sure that my shoes have a little bit of resistance to droplets of water, especially if they are suede or really delicate leather, and just to give that little extra boost of protection. I think another thing that is really good to have for that long-term care perspective is some sort of leather conditioner. So this you apply with a little microfiber cloth and you really work it into the fabric, and it helps to moisturize and nourish the leather. And if you think about it, leather is a skin, and so over time it will dry out, and this allows you to give it that hydration boost the same way that we would do with our complexion. This is another one of those things that feels incredibly old school to me, a belt press. Now my bubble had one and his was so old I'm pretty sure it was rusting, but whenever I needed to add or punch another hole into my belt, I would always go and use that, and it was just such a great little tool. These are again pretty inexpensive. You can get them for under $15 I think, and it's great if you've bought a belt that is maybe a hip belt but you want to be able to wear it as a waist belt as well. I would just recommend for consistency measuring the space between the existing holes so that it doesn't look like you've just popped or punched a random hole into the belt. But yeah, this is another really handy little tool to have, and it saves you a trip to the cobbler. Final wardrobe must-have that I wanted to mention is sandalwood. So this acts as a clothing protector. So if you're someone who has issues with moths and you really want to protect your knitwear, you want to make sure that you have one of these hanging in your wardrobe, maybe tucked away with all of your sweaters, because it's going to be a naturally repellent object for any insects that like to nestle in our clothing. And it also has the added benefit of smelling really beautiful as well. You can increase the potency by removing it from the outer shell if you would like. I just do that to make sure I'm doubly protecting my knitwear, but this is such a good little natural tool to have, and it also doesn't have that really musty smell of mothballs, which many of us might be familiar with from our grandparents' generation. I know my I used to scatter them absolutely everywhere. So any drawer you would open, any cupboard you would open, you would just have that overwhelming scent of mothballs. So those are the wardrobe essentials I think you actually need that will help you to maintain and care for the clothing you already own. I think that there is so much emphasis on trying to build and find the perfect wardrobe, and I've said this before, but it doesn't exist. I've done a whole video on it and I'm gonna link it up here, but we are ever changing. Our style is a journey. There is no end point, and we're constantly changing. Our preferences might change from year to year, from season to season. So to say that something is absolutely perfect, while it might be in that moment will be fleeting. And I think the best thing to do is to really just enjoy what you have, make the most of it, and find new ways to wear it. And all of that comes down to actually taking the time to play in your wardrobe. If you do want inspiration on how you can style a small number of items, if you don't follow me already over on Substack, I do 10 item capsules on the 1st of every month, and I am going to link that down in the description box below because those are so fun, and I always love hearing your feedback on what you think of those. But yeah, thank you so much for spending some of your time with me. I hope that you have been having the most beautiful start to 2025 so far, and I will see you next week with a brand new video. See you soon. Bye.